MeMonster.
Chapter 366. Inside a tranquil forest, where the appearance of demons had kept people away, a woman carrying a bow walked quietly. She checked her smartwatch for directions, making it clear this was her first time here. Still, she showed no sign of nervousness. After walking across the grassy field for a while, she stopped at her destination, a small log cabin nestled among the trees and undergrowth. She stood in front of the plain wooden door, which had only a simple doorknob. She took a deep breath and reached for the knob, but before she could open it, the door swung open from the inside. Startled, she stepped back. "Oh, you're here." Jane greeted her with a bright smile, treating her like an old friend. But the visitor didn't step inside. Instead, she peered past the smiling woman's shoulder into the cabin. The wide sight of the divine archer unfolded. "Don't just stand there, come in," Jane called out warmly. Behind her were Khalifa, Seftrin, Jin Yo Han, and Chaek Yong-jong. Only after confirming the members of the chameleon troupe did the visitor speak. "No, not yet. I haven't accepted your offer." "Really? Then why are you here?" "I have a condition. I'm willing to cooperate if you agree to it." "Oh? And what's that?" Jane asked with a giggle. Kung! The cabin shook as Chaek Yong-jung rose from his seat in the shadows. His huge frame nearly touched the ceiling. Jin Se-yeon swallowed hard, but she spoke firmly, determined. "There can be no killing during this process. I want them to face the punishment of the law." At her words, 5 gazes inside the cabin turned to her. Jin Se-yeon tensed, waiting for Jane's response. We expected as much." Jane didn't seem opposed. In fact, her tone suggested, "Try it if you can." Jin Se-yeon thought to herself. The rumors were true. The chameleon troupe had an ironclad rule: resolve disagreements with a fight, and the victor's will prevails. She was confident in her abilities, but Chaek Yong-jung was a tough opponent. Still, she had brought Huangzong's bow for this very reason. Hoo-hoo! Jane, rubbing her chin in thought, suddenly smiled. Jin Se-yeon readied her senses and gripped her bow. Jane spoke. "Sure, let's do that, Sue." She agreed. "In that case, Jin Se-yeon was about to draw her bow when she froze, confused by what she'd just heard. She stared at Jane, tilting her head. Jane repeated herself. "We'll do that. No killing, only justice. You guys are okay with that, right?" What was even stranger was the other members' reactions. Jin Se-yeon expected Chaek Yong-jung to object, but even he nodded. Jane grinned. "Then, you'll be working with us now, right?" "Huh? Wait." Jane grabbed Jin Se-yeon's hand and pulled her into the cabin. Essence of the Strait, Chief Officer's Office. 5 days had passed since the victory over Ball. Yoo Yeon-hae sat in her office chair gazing out the window. The sky, once reddish-black, was now clear. The endless blue sky warmed her heart. The chirping birds, fluffy clouds, and blazing sun all seemed beautiful. Yoo Yeon-hae shook off her sentiment with a sigh and turned to her desk where a mountain of documents awaited. All were post-war matters she had to handle. Despite the workload, Yoo Yeon-hae clenched her fists and encouraged herself. Once everything was settled, Essence of the Strait would enter its second prime and rise above Korea to become a world leader. As she focused on the documents, her eyes caught yesterday's newspaper. Shin Young-huk's confession. This was a disaster brought upon by Shin Young-chul's regression. She felt her heart grow heavy. After Ball's defeat, Shin Young-huk's confession caused a global stir. Shin Young-chul's reputation as the saint hero was shaken. But thanks to Shin Young-huk's achievements in the fight, his decision to donate most of his family's wealth to rebuilding, the ongoing threat of demons, and, most importantly, Yoo Yeon-hae's media manipulation, Shin Young-chul avoided being labeled trash that should burn in hell, as Jin Se-hyuk put it. Yoo Yeon-hae sighed again and pushed the newspaper aside. She remembered her father who had promised to make a certain announcement soon. Jing! Her smartwatch vibrated. It was her secretary, Jin Se-chan, who had returned from the Republic of Leoris thanks to Shimmerin's power. "This is Jinsei-chan?" "Yes, go ahead." "The demons have launched a surprise attack in Seoul. Their commander is one of the new evils. Their goal seems to be the demonic energy gem currently under the association's management." "Is that so?" Yu Yunhei rested her chin on her palm. Although Ball was gone, demons remained on Earth. Some had joined the Jinns in Pandemonium. A new term, new evils, had emerged. The surviving members of the 9 evils had formed a new organization. "If it's Seoul, then there's nothing to worry about. Kim Suho happens to be there, but send some people over just to look the part." "Yes, understood." "And about what you mentioned before, the Chameleon Troop Foundation?" "The Chameleon Troop has disbanded." "My apologies. The Ebiol Foundation is proceeding smoothly." The Chameleon Troop had disbanded, and Ebiol remained as Yu Yunhei's partner. Yu Yunhei had recruited her, tweaking her background, so Ebiol could act as Essence of the Straits' hero. She seemed interested in the job. "What about it?" "Well, it's about the scale of her wealth. I'll send you the relevant info." "Got it." Yu Yunhei didn't think much of it, but when she saw what Jinsei-chan sent, she doubted her eyes. She really amassed quite a fortune. Ebiol's wealth was enough to surprise even Yu Yunhei. She owned more than 10 private islands, and with all her treasures, artifacts, stocks, and World of Wish items, her wealth totaled hundreds of trillions of won. These assets would only increase in value over time. "Oh, she's a majority shareholder in our companies? With this much, she could single-handedly feed all war orphans." Her assets included stocks in Essence of the Straits subsidiaries, on a business scale rather than an individual one. She was certainly greedy. "We're managing her assets as efficiently as possible, but the sheer scale makes it difficult. Be honest and donate most of the profits. Watch the employees so they don't do anything stupid out of greed." Ebiol was the former leader of the Chameleon Troop. Doing anything underhanded could get them all killed. "Yes, understood. We'll focus on rescuing children." "Great. I'm hanging up." When the call ended, Yu Yunhei stretched. She picked up her smartwatch to rest. Rachel had messaged her while she was working. "Rachel. Photo. This." She quickly tapped the message. As expected, a picture of Evelyn appeared. She must have just eaten cake with whipped cream all over her mouth. She's too cute." Yu Yunhei stared in a daze and began typing a reply, her shoulders trembling. "Hiding something so cute? Oh, she's so cute. Oh yeah, didn't you say Evelyn liked dolls? Next time we meet..."
While typing, she suddenly felt like she was forgetting something. She felt embarrassed, though she didn't know why. Unable to figure it out, she erased her message and got to the point. "You don't have to use a vandal as a weapon to convince me. The conference will happen. I'll take the portal at 6 p.m. 2 days later. I plan to be generous during this conference with England, but I suggest you don't go overboard with requests." Rachel replied quickly. "Of course! Evandel and I are eagerly waiting, President." This message came with 2 more pictures of Evandel, one of her chasing a butterfly, and another napping with Hajin. "Wow, For a moment, Yu Yena's face melted from the cuteness, but she quickly coughed and returned to work. Seoul Special City, Road to Gwanghamun. The difference between a limousine and a standard car was simple. If a standard car went clunk clunk as it drove, a limousine would go shoom and glide forward like a snake. It was obvious why people chose the latter. Shoom was quicker and safer than clunk clunk. But there are always exceptions. In the back seat of the limousine, Kim Soo-ho twisted in discomfort, like a child holding in his pee. He squirmed for a long time before finally speaking. "I think it'll be faster if I get out and walk." "No, this is an official business matter at an official place." His personal secretary refused firmly. Kim Soo-ho scratched his neck. As expected of the witch who once served the Demon King, she was thorough in caring for her master. Today, Kim Soo-ho had returned from the Manchurian battlefield and was heading to the Hero Association. Only 5 days had passed since Baal's defeat, and the unknown demons remained in pandemonium. The association was hosting a banquet. Kim Soo-ho didn't want to go, but the former president, Kim Suk-ho, insisted. Yoon Sung-ah wanted him to go too, and Kim Soo-ho felt he owed him for the scholarship that helped his family. Kaham. Instead of resisting, Kim Soo-ho unfastened 2 suit buttons and looked out the window. Under the clear blue sky, the Han River sparkled like jewels. Kim Soo-ho turned his head absent-mindedly. Suddenly, a woman appeared beside him. She hadn't been there a moment ago. She had slipped in without a trace and now sat naturally next to him. It was a horror movie-like experience. Kim Soo-ho's heart jumped, but he tried to look calm. "Where are you going?" The ghost, no, Jin Sa-hyuk, asked. Kim Soo-ho glanced at his secretary. She was watching in the mirror, but didn't seem intent on kicking Jin Sa-hyuk out. The association," Kim Soo-ho replied calmly. Jin Sa-hyuk raised her brows, surprised. "You? Where are you diving into politics?" "It's not politics. It's not a meaningless conference either. To be honest, I don't care about someone like you. What about that guy?" Kim Soo-ho paused. That guy? Did she mean Shin Jung-hak? Jung-hak should be in Africa right now. No, not that idiot. Jin Sa-hyuk frowned. Kim Soo-ho tilted his head. Then who? That guy. You know, that guy. Stop being cryptic. Who's... He stopped mid-sentence. An unpleasant sensation nagged at him, like something on the tip of his tongue, but no matter how hard he tried, nothing came to mind. This someone was impossible to remember by unnatural means. "Don't worry, you don't have to hide him. I won't try to bring him to my world." Jin Sa-hyuk shrugged. The more she acted this way, the more confused Kim Soo-ho became. Seeing his confusion, Jin Sa-hyuk continued, frustrated, "I'm going to leave alone, okay? I don't want to involve an unrelated person." Only then, Kim Soo-ho found words. "You're leaving? To Akatrina?" "That's right. Unlike you, I have a strong attachment to my homeworld." Jin Sa-hyuk's voice carried a rueful pride. She wanted to return home as soon as possible, and the only reason she was still on Earth was to make preparations, like gathering food. Kim Soo-ho looked into her eyes. They were no longer bloodthirsty, but deep and full of life, glistening with righteous will. Kim Soo-ho smiled bitterly and shook his head. "I miss our homeworld too." "Yeah, because your homeworld is Earth. Stop playing with words and tell me." "No." Jin Sa-hyuk scowled. "I miss Ekaterina too. That's my homeworld. I still use the swordsmanship I learned there, and I still live by the principles I set there. No matter how much I deny it, I can't erase Ekaterina from my heart. So I decided to accept it. My life in Ekaterina wasn't the happiest. It was miserable, to be honest. But I don't resent the world for it. I'm here because of Ekaterina, after all." Kim Soo-ho's short life in Ekaterina was filled with betrayal, sorrow, despair, and frustration. But deep inside, there was happiness and love too. He finally felt ready to accept all those memories. Jin Sa-hyuk angrily punched the back seat. "Shut up. I don't care about that. I need to know where that guy is." Keek! The limousine suddenly stopped. All the cars ahead had stopped or hit the guardrail. A boom shook the surroundings. Kim Soo-ho quickly opened the door and stepped out. He saw demons flying over the Han River. "Jin Sa-hyuk?" "What?" Kim Soo-ho drew his scabbard and spoke to Jin Sa-hyuk, who had followed him. "You'll help, right?" "What? Why are you so surprised? You helped us against Baal, didn't you?" "Are you mad? Why should I? I have my hands full with Ekaterina." Jin Sa-hyuk narrowed her eyes. Kim Soo-ho chuckled, then pleaded sincerely. "Your former humble servant requests." Jin Sa-hyuk paused. surprised by his formal tone. She stared at him, her eyes unrickable. Soon a big grin spread across her face. A request from a servant who killed his king. Kim Soo-ho smiled too. A servant who killed his king, and a king who killed his servant's everything. Jin Se-hyuk didn't apologize, and Kim Soo-ho didn't expect one. This benevolent lord shall grant your request. Jin Se-hyuk was Jin Se-hyuk, because she was Jin Se-hyuk. There was no king who apologized to his servant. Thank you very much. Also, I'm sorry about the past, but... Kim Soo-ho drew Misteltein, its brilliant light illuminating the Han River. You sure have a good sword. Of course, that just means you're weak without your weapon. Jin Se-hyuk laughed and summoned her magic power. Black energy formed armor and countless spears and swords in the air. Meanwhile, the demon army descended from the sky. Kwa! Jin Se-hyuk fired her spears and swords, tearing the demons apart. Kim Soo-ho sent sword strikes at the fearless demons. As he swung his sword and watched Misteltein slice through enemies, he couldn't remember anything. What was it? Wasn't there something important about this sword? Memories with a precious person should be stored in this sword. So why? Why can't I remember? Kim Soo-ho forgot naturally, and he couldn't remember naturally. But he wanted to remember. He desperately wanted to recall. But... So you're Kim Soo-ho! A loud roar interrupted his thoughts. A powerful enemy appeared, blocking Kim Soo-ho's path. It's good to see you!
He seemed to know Kim Soo-ho. Kim Soo-ho recognized him by appearance, a demon wrapped in black metal, 3 meters tall, with monstrous muscles and intimidating features, the most famous member of the New Evils. He was called Iron Evil Lord. He had attacked 28 high-ranked heroes and 20 had died. He was not to be taken lightly. I shall be the one to kill you. As iron nails flew toward him, Kim Soo-ho stopped thinking. When I opened my eyes, I was in the middle of Seoul Station. It was unlikely Boss abandoned me here, so it must have been the co-author's doing. I was thankful. The co-author said the evanescence would progress slowly. That meant Boss would forget me even while I was in front of her. Being here was better than seeing her forget. I checked today's date with the newspaper covering my stomach. About 6 days had passed since Ball's defeat. After checking the date, I checked what I still had. But as expected, there was nothing. Gifts, authorities, arts, physiques, skills, SP, the system, DP, items, everything I obtained through the author's power was gone. I was at a loss for what to do next. The reality I tried to deny flooded in, and tears welled up. But I had no plans to sit and cry. I had experienced death twice. Though I lost everything, I still had my memories and perseverance. Though I say this, it still took me a day to leave Seoul Station. Thankfully, there was one place I could stay, the apartment where I first woke up, the place that belonged to Cheon-dong. I went there thinking, what if? And the 90-square-meter home greeted me just as it did when I first arrived. I had returned to where everything began, having lost everything. I now slouched on the couch watching TV. Although the threat of Ball has disappeared, a new troublesome force called the New Evils has risen. The world's greatest hero academy called Cube has officially announced its revival. That was the news. Hero Shin Jong-hak has decided to concentrate all his might on subjugating the New Evils. Although Shin Young-chol's action summoned Ball, the public still supports Shin Jong-hak. Revealing his grandfather's sins and trying to atone, one can see how pure-hearted he is. That was clearly Yoo Yan-hae's media manipulation. Hero Chae Na-yoon, are you expecting to become a master-rank hero? Everyone from the association is expecting it. Now's not the time to think about that.
We have a lot of reconstruction to do. There are people to protect and rescue, many enemies to defeat. So I want everyone to focus on that. Ranking heroes can come later. Anyway, I'm going back to work." That was an interview with Chain Ayun. Around her neck was the necklace I gave her. A nameless angel is supporting children who lost their families during the war. Even from a rough estimate, the donation amounts to 1 trillion won. That had to be boss. Still lying on the couch, I kept my eyes on the TV. I watched the people who would lead brilliant lives in a world that was no longer a novel. I covered my face with my hands, feeling both happy and sad. Iron Evil Lord who attacked Han River has been defeated. The Creator's sacred grace will continue to fight demons with courage and determination. Kim Suho stood on a podium discussing the recent attack on Seoul by the Iron Evil Lord. Well, looking at Kim Suho, I murmured quietly, "I'm sure I can survive somehow." This wasn't my first time as an extra. From the beginning, I was meant to live as if I didn't exist. Since I made that decision, there was no need to regret, cry, or be sad. I just had to start over. Should I really try applying as a background actor or something? I think I'd be a pretty good actor. I turned off the TV and got up. After taking a bottle of water from the fridge and drinking it, I ordered delivery. It was a 23,000 won spicy braised chicken. Thankfully, I could survive a month with the money Kim Chundong had in his desk. After that, well, I'd probably have to look for a part-time job. Once I ordered food, a stifling silence filled the room. It was the kind of empty silence that made you feel alone. I picked up a chopstick from the kitchen. Remembering my master sharpshooter gift, I gave it a light throw. The chopstick didn't fly at a terrifying speed. It just fell and rolled on the ground. Of course, I'd tried the same thing 1,000 times already. It was time to accept it, that Kim Hajin as a character had really disappeared. Then, ding, the bell rang. Huh? The delivery's here already? Since when did spicy braised chicken take 3 minutes to make? I tilted my head and opened the front door. Hello? But no one was there. My foot bumped into something. What's this? It was a huge package, about the size of 2 fruit boxes. I furrowed my brows and knelt down. A small letter was attached to the box. This is my final gift. Eh? Dogung. My heart skipped a beat. I looked around the hallway, then quickly dragged the box inside. It was so heavy I had to drag it. Even that made me gasp for air. After placing the box in the living room, I considered ripping the tape with my hands, but quickly fetched scissors from the kitchen. With a deep breath, I cut the tape and opened the box. I was speechless. Emotions welled up from deep inside. Inside the package was a black suit engraved with a lotus symbol and a beautiful silver gun. They were the pieces of equipment I used to use. I stared at them blankly, then lowered my head onto the box. I didn't cry. I refused to believe I did. I was just grateful that he left me at least these. And if I showed my gratitude, maybe he'd send more gifts in the future. Strange sounds came from my mouth, but that really was how I felt.
Chapter 367. Kim Ha-jin's apartment. I carefully placed the Black Lotus uniform and the Desert Eagle on the couch. After staring at them for a while, I looked inside the box again to see if there was anything else. A small, black box was tucked away at the bottom. A box inside a box? I tilted my head as I unwrapped it. Inside the black box was a smartwatch and a small envelope. I took out the smartwatch first. Both the strap and the case were decorated with obsidian, giving it a luxurious look. It was the same high-tech watch that Yu Yun-ha had specially created for me. I turned it on and it worked perfectly. It recognized me as its owner right away. I could immediately see Kim Hajin's ID, along with my bank accounts, stock accounts, and other personal assets stored in the user wallet. I checked how much money I had. Eh? Just my bank account alone held 30 million won. In stocks, I had 10 shares of Essential Pharmacy, 10 shares of Essential Dynamics, and 10 shares of Essence of the Strait, all totaling 60 million won. It was far less than what I had before, but I was still extremely grateful. Looking at my stock holdings, I suddenly remembered something from the past. Whenever boss was sulking or down, I would sell her my stocks. Since Essence of the Strait's unlisted stocks were trustworthy assets that were hard to acquire even with money, they were the perfect medicine to lift boss's mood. Even though she always said she didn't need them, the corners of her mouth would twitch up and her face would redden. She really couldn't be cuter if she tried. Tss. But when my thoughts reached this point, I had to put my smartwatch down. The ripples caused by old memories spread and formed a huge wave. Feeling like I might lose consciousness, I leaned against the couch and sank deeper into reminiscence. I began to miss everyone too much. Evandal and Rachel, Chae Na-yoon and Kim Soo-ho, Yoo Yeon-ha and Boss, and even the friends and family who should be in my homeworld. Well, I didn't have any close friends, but I really did want to see my mom and dad. I couldn't even imagine how they would feel once they found out I was gone. But don't worry, I made this decision myself. Since this world's time flows differently, even if I die of old age, less than 100 days would have passed there. I found myself justifying my choice. I slapped my cheeks. Since I decided not to regret my decision, I couldn't just stay here so pathetically. I forced myself up and put on the Black Lotus uniform. Because I got a little shorter, the tail edge of the uniform touched the ground. But the moment I thought this, whoosh, the uniform automatically shrank to fit my body. It seemed the functionalities I added to the uniform were still there. I looked at myself in a full-length mirror before storing the Desert Eagle in the holster. The Desert Eagle is extremely light. I then sat down on the couch. It was time to think about what to do from now on. But because I couldn't come up with anything, I picked up my smartwatch to surf the internet. She said it had an internet connection, right? I remembered Yoo Yeon-ha bragging about it to me in the past, that this smartwatch was high-tech than most high-tech computers on the market. I placed the smartwatch on the table and changed to desktop mode. A hologram keyboard and a monitor projected themselves into the air. While I was browsing through web portals, a certain website caught my attention. It was a read novel full site. When I saw it, a smile appeared on my face. Should I write a novel? If I wrote the past 10 or so years I've experienced as a novel, I probably wouldn't be that fun. I had no plans to write another novel ever again. I threw that thought away and began to search for other websites, mainly focusing on job boards. I wanted to work. At the very least, I wanted to feel that I was alive. Welcome to Korea's biggest mercenary website, Desert Soul. Open recruitment for mercenaries. Mission requests. Check/cancel missions. Mercenary? This was quite tempting. I had the Desert Eagle for offense and the Black Lotus uniform for defense. It should be difficult for most attacks to penetrate the uniform's defensive power. However, the problem was my lackluster sharpshooting ability. I also didn't want to jump back into the midst of battle when I only barely managed to escape from it. Oh right, there was something else. I approached the black box again, remembering the small envelope that came with the smartwatch. The envelope was thick, as if it had a letter. Let's see. I muttered to myself as I tore open the envelope. From the envelope, a small water droplet fell down and clung to my body. I was surprised at first, but I immediately became grateful. I recognized this water droplet. It was the formless weapon that was neither a fluid nor a solid, and was the first unique ranked item I ever obtained in this world. Even though it was far smaller than before, this was, without a doubt, Aether. I stopped myself from tearing up at the familiar sensation of Aether and accepted it. Aether stuck like glue to my body. But even after Aether popped out, the envelope remained thick. Wondering if there was something else inside, I peeked into it. There was a paper inside. I reached into the envelope with my fingers and pulled out the paper.
On the surface of this coupon-like paper were words written in strange handwriting. Position acquisition coupon. Medicinal memory physique. The moment I saw it, laughter escaped my mouth. It was a happy, pleasant laughter. It seemed this was the last gift the co-author left for me. But I didn't know why it was medicinal memory physique. Why wasn't it master sharpshooter, magic dysfunction physique, random consolidation system, or parkour? Well, I really couldn't complain. Since this was the only physique the co-author left for me, I had to formulate my future plans using it. I looked at the hologram monitor again. After entering the Help Wanted cafe again, I searched for a certain keyword. Search, essential pharmacy. 15,321 posts including essential pharmacy. The open recruitment notice for essential pharmacy is out. It looks like they're going to hire a large number of people this time. Is anyone here looking to apply? Essential pharmacy's test is too hard and unpredictable. Last time, I heard the question was how to kill a dragon or something. I heard the salary for the researcher position is incredible, and because of the war against the new evils. That's right. After reading through the posts for about 3 minutes, I nodded. This was the best way I could utilize the medicinal memory physique. Thinking about it, I had killed too many people in this world. At first, I justified myself by saying they were only characters in the novel. After I recognized this world as a real world, I changed the story to it being necessary. Perhaps this was the reason the co-author left this physique.
He had left me an ability that could save people rather than kill. Suddenly, what Kim Soo-ho told me in the past brushed past my ears. Everyone in this world is the main character. He was right. Even if everyone forgot about me, I could lead my own life. Perhaps I might be able to live a much more faithful life than before. At the very least, the current me wouldn't do something as stupid as treating this world as a novel. With a grin, I gripped the medicinal memory physique coupon. Then, shweek! I ripped it in half. A blue current flowed out from the torn cross-section of the coupon. Thus, the current carrying the physique slowly seeped into my body. Whew! Although the medicinal effects I had memorized before should have been reset, it didn't matter. I could just start over from the beginning. Let's see. Check, check! I clapped my hands energetically and accessed the website. And 5 minutes later, I realized that Essential Pharmacy's open recruitment required an educational background. It made sense. I mean, what pharmaceutical company would accept someone who didn't attend med school? Because it was such an obvious thing, it wasn't even listed on the employment site. Well, I don't want to give up. Guess I'll apply to the sales department or something. In England, Buckingham Palace, inside a private office in Buckingham Palace, Rachel was with Ivandel, who was busy talking to her friends over a video call. See you later. I have lots of time now. You're famous now. Are you sure? Don't worry. I have time. Hee hee. Then we'll be waiting for you. Seeing Ivandel smiling brightly as she talked to her friends, Rachel had a rather random thought. Did young kids always use exclamation marks when they were talking to their friends? No, that wasn't it. Then what was it that she was thinking about? Rachel furrowed her brows but failed to find out. See you later. At that moment, Ivandel hung up the call. Ivandel smiled bloomingly, then said those words, "I want to see you." I want to see you. Rachel didn't know what that meant. Recently, either as a form of sleep talking or an instinctual calling, she began to say the words, "I want to see you." She would say this in the middle of eating, showering, running around, and even sleeping. I want to see you. It was almost like a habit. Even when Rachel asked who she wanted to see, she would only tilt her head. Tuk tuk. At that moment, a couple of knocking noises rang out, and the royal court secretary spoke. She is almost here. Yu Yun-hei seemed to be almost here. Rachel replied with a simple yes and walked out of the palace with Ivandel. The prime minister, his cabinet, and the members of parliament were gathered in the garden. Don't be nervous, princess. The negotiation is looking favorable.
Despite saying this, the Prime Minister was trembling non-stop. Yes, don't be too nervous either, Prime Minister. Huh, nervous? Never. Never, ever nervous. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, after about 5 minutes of waiting, Yu Yun-hei's limousine appeared along with an incredible entourage of guards. After getting off, Yu Yun-hei entered the meeting room while receiving a warm welcome from the Prime Minister and parliamentary members. Yu Yun-hei replied to the Prime Minister's joke extremely coldly. Now, let's start the negotiation, but before that, why is there a kid here? Inside the meeting room, Yu Yun-hei found Yvonne sitting in a room full of suited politicians and slightly lost her calm. Princess Rachel. Yu Yun-hei's sharp gaze turned to Rachel. Yes. Rachel blinked her eyes and pretended to be oblivious. Yvonne also blinked her eyes and stared at Yu Yun-hei. Sitting on a chair that was far bigger than her body, Yvonne found it difficult to even place her 2 arms on the table. Yu Yun-hei found this incredibly cute. But she knew not to mix business with pleasure. This is an important negotiation meeting. Please leave Yvonne out of it. No, Yvonne is here because she wants to be a part of the talk. Rachel spoke as she looked at Yvonne. What? Yu Yun-hei frowned. Was this princess trying to use a kid for the negotiation? Yvonne wants to become a hero in the future, and the English royal court plans to support her as much as possible. After all, her talent is great. We were hoping that through this meeting, Yvonne would become a member of both a Korean guild and an English guild. Yu Yun-hei's shoulders turned stiff. What Rachel was saying was clear. Yu Yun-hei racked her brains before letting out a dry cough and nodded. I see. Well, I've heard of our little hero's accomplishments. You were great, future hero Yvonne. Eh? Thank you. Yvonne tried her best to hide her laughter at Yu Yun-hei's praise. Yu Yun-hei also smiled lightly and spread out the documents she brought. Now, let's start the negotiation, including future hero Yvonne Nim's guild status. In Korea, Seoul, Chaiju Chol's mansion. We're here, Grand Hero Nim. On the other hand, a voice from the driver's seat woke Chai Na-yoon from her sleep. She had returned after completing her mission as a hero. She opened her eyes narrowly. She was drooling from her mouth, and tears were flowing down from her eyes. The drool was one thing, but why was she crying? Ah, thanks. She yawned and wiped away the tears and drool. What time is it? 1:30 a.m. Wow, really? I fought for 18 hours? I was wondering why I was so frickin' tired. Why don't you form a team, too? It will reduce your exhaustion significantly. Oh, no, I like being alone. Chai Na-yoon's official position was Grand Hero. It was equal to a team leader position, and she was one of the highest-ranked officers in Essence of the Strait. Although she had the right and authority to form her own team, she didn't. She completed her missions almost exclusively alone. Chai Na-yoon herself didn't know the reason. She simply thought she had to. You can go back. I'll go on my own tomorrow, so rest up. Yes, thank you. Chai Na-yoon got off from the limousine and sent the driver home. Just like always, she walked past the Hanok's front door, but today she was roused by a certain presence. It wasn't the presence of an assassin. In fact, this presence was making it clear that it was there. Chai Na-yoon stopped and turned in that direction. Oi, crazy woman, it's been a while. From the darkness, a destructive figure appeared. Terrifying muscles and protruding veins, a human monster that seemed impossible to kill with a blade. Chai Na-yoon reached back and grabbed her balmung. Don't be so wary. My business isn't with you. Chek Jung-young waved his hand and walked proudly to the front door. Chai Na-yoon didn't relax and spat out. What business do you have with me? I told you, my business isn't with you. I'm here for your grandfather. Your grandfather? Yep. I came to make your grandfather atone for his past sins. What? Don't pretend like you don't know. The Kwang-o incident. Chai Na-yun flinched. She knew what the incident was.
Killing innocent people to silence a political opponent? Hiding all records and manipulating the media? A truly heinous massacre. And what was it? Wasn't there something important? So tell me, where is your grandfather? When Chuck Jung-gi-young asked, suddenly an arrow flew forward and struck the back of Chuck Jung-gi-young's head. It must have been quite strong, as his head bent forward at a 90-degree angle. Chuck Jung-gi-young remained in that position for a while before gritting his teeth and glaring back. That stupid woman. Does she think she's the leader now? Don't be violent. A clear voice rang out from the sky. Startled, Chai Na-yun turned in the direction of the voice. A hooded archer was sitting on top of a pine tree near the mansion. Sorry for visiting you all of a sudden, Chai Na-yun-chi, the archer said as she lifted up her hood. But this is something that must be done. We wanted to get your opinion too, so excuse us for our rudeness. When the archer's face was revealed, Chai Na-yun's eyes widened in shock. Senior Jin Se-han? Yes. Jin Se-han smiled faintly and gazed at Chai Na-yun. Nice to meet you, Junior Chai Na-yun. Why are you here? Or rather, what relation do you have with this crazy muscle pig? Muscle pig? Tuck. Jin Se-han lightly landed. She walked up to Chai Na-yun, who was in a mild state of panic, and spoke with a stiff expression. I know this might be sudden, but I wanted to ask for your opinion. Opinion? Mine? When Chai Na-yun asked back in a daze, Jin Se-han answered seriously. I'll get to the point. We plan to rob Essential Pharmacy and return emotions to Chai Ju-chol. Huh? Huh? As Jin Se-han skipped a few explanations, Chai Na-yun's already empty head was wiped clean. Chapter 368. 3 people sat face to face in a dark forest. Conveniently, 3 chair-sized rocks were placed there, and each took a seat. Jin Se-yan explained her plan to the confused Chai Na-yun. Chai Na-yun asked several questions before finally understanding. Jin Se-yan's plan was to oust the corrupt political figures of the association. Returning emotions to Chai Ju-chol was only a part of that plan. The association's executives have even cooperated with Jins for their own safety and wealth. Even knowing the dangers of the side effects of gifts, they used children as a means to delay their aging or as weapons of mass destruction. They threatened powerless countries while using us heroes and caused wars to monopolize dungeons and artifacts. Na-yun-si, they are no longer an association of heroes. Now is the time to correct everything. Although the world is troubled by Baal and the new evils, that only makes this the perfect moment. If we let the association be, they might begin to collude with the new evils. After all, a clear enemy is needed for the association to maintain their strength. Chai Na-yun dropped her head. Her shadow wasn't visible in the dark forest. While she remained silent, Chuck Jung-gi-young furrowed his brows and spoke up. Yes, we need to join hands with him instead. It was impossible to bring justice to the association with just the power of the chameleon troupe. Although the members had incredible strength, their political power was non-existent. Jane's gift would help, but it wasn't enough. Join hands with grandfather? Chai Na-yun asked in a depressed voice. Yes, Chai Ju-chol does not have emotions, so he must have had a calculative reason for helping Kim Soo-ko and Lee Yu-ko at that time. You can see from the records that Dae-yeon was able to rise higher thanks to that incident. But their relationship can't continue forever, and that's because Chai Ju-chol's emotions are faint. Using emotionlessness to break the pact formed with emotionlessness, that was Jin Se-yeon's plan. Until now, Che-ju-cho had maintained a mutually beneficial relationship with the association's executives. If they became useless and clear evidence was provided, Che-ju-cho would undoubtedly push them away. However, Che Na-yoon hesitated. Even if that happens, grandfather will not regret his past actions. That was the reason. Che-ju-cho played a huge role in the tragedy known as the Kwang-o incident, but he has never and will never feel sadness or guilt because the antidote known as emotions didn't exist for him. Hearing this, Jin Se-yeon shook her head. "You're wrong, Na-yoon-si. Essential Pharmacy is developing medicine to counter the side effects of gifts." "What? A medicine to counter side effects?" "Yes. The 9 stars, Hanks and O.J. Jin, Hanks possessed a few of the prototype medications that cured them of their side effects. Hanks donated them to Essential Pharmacy, and Essential Pharmacy is properly researching this subject." Che Na-yin's eyes widened. Then when the medicine is done, yes, Che-ju-cho will regain his emotions. Che Na-yun dropped her jaw in shock, but closed it a moment later. She suddenly became worried. In truth, even she didn't know how Che-ju-cho originally was. If her grandfather was a merciless villain from the start, what should she do? What if his emotionless state made him less of a threat to society? If he killed humans as he pleased and treated love, sympathy, and compassion as trash, then what? This possibility crossed her mind. However, Che Na-yoon steeled her heart and clenched her fists. She decided to believe in the kind side Che-ju-cho showed her as her grandfather. She had to pay the debt she owed to that person. "Okay, I'll help. Thank you. Sorry for making such an unreasonable demand, even though you aren't related to this incident." No, I'm also... Che Na-yoon couldn't finish her sentence. Kwang-o incident, the evil deed committed by her grandfather, a tragedy that had to be made right. But wasn't there more to it? There definitely should be. A sharp pang of pain suddenly struck Che Na-yoon's head. She clutched her head and kneeled. "Na-yoon-si?" Startled, Jin Se-yeon grabbed Che Na-yoon's body. This brain-splitting pain didn't disappear easily. And in this pain, Che Na-yoon continued to think. She felt she had forgotten something important. She didn't know what it was, but her heart was naturally moving for him. Are you okay? Na-yoon-si? Na-yoon-si?" The hammering pain disappeared, and Che Na-yoon blankly looked up at Jin Se-yeon, who was staring at her with a worried look. "Are you okay?" Yes, I'm fine." Che Na-yoon fiddled with her necklace as she met Jin Se-yeon's gaze. Then a question suddenly arose in her head. "This necklace, didn't someone give it to me? It wasn't a present, so I have to return it. But who was it? Who am I supposed to return it to?" Che Na-yoon slowly closed her eyes. This time she didn't faint. She was meditating to remember something. On the other hand, Kim Soo-ho stood in front of the guild leader's office for a meeting. Creator's Sacred Grace, leader Yeon Sung-ah. Her nameplate shone with a green light. Tuk tuk tuk. When Kim Soo-ho knocked on the door, Yeon Sung-ah opened it and greeted him with a smile. "Come in." Kim Soo-ho bowed formally and walked into the office. He thought this every time he entered, but the guild leader's office really looked like a domed stadium. Not only were the walls circular, but the ceiling was also round and protruding upward. "Did you have a meeting?" Kim Soo-ho asked as he looked around the messy office. Creator Sacred Grace's performance and ranking were recorded on the board. "Yep, look at that. Our guild ranking. We're doing well, right?" Yeon Sung-ah sat at the head of the table, laughing joyfully. Kim Soo-ho sat down next to her and looked at the ranking too. Rank 1, Essence of the Straight. Rank 2, Duelist Moon. Rank 3, Creator's Sacred Grace. Rank 4, Frost Sanctuary.
Almost of the essence of the strait is impossible to overtake now, but we managed to take the rank 3 spot with the recent assault on Oido Cave. She sounded proud and bitter at the same time. Just like she said, although Creator's sacred grace managed to reclaim some of its former glory, the gap between them and the essence of the strait was now impossible to cross. Even if they don't work for 10 years, we won't be able to catch up to them. Kind of unfair, don't you think? Yoon Sung-ah grumbled as she brewed 2 cups of tea, one for herself and one for Kim Soo-ho. It's something to be happy about if we think of them as our ally. Anyways, why did you call me? You see, the association made a request. It's an assassination order. Pardon? Assassination?
Kim Soo-ho furrowed his brows. He never expected to hear the word assassination, especially from the association. Yep, the association head personally made this request. You've heard of the Chameleon Troupe, right? Yes. They want us to eliminate that group. Huh? Kim Soo-ho was dumbstruck. Of course, the Chameleon Troupe had committed many crimes until now, but not only did they help humanity during the war against Orden and Baal, they were also granted a pardon because of it. If the order was to arrest the Chameleon Troupe members, Kim Soo-ho would have agreed readily. But assassinating them? Kim Soo-ho asked sharply. You agreed? No, not yet. But if we do, it will be greatly beneficial to us. Enough to make us rise to rank 2. Yoon Sung-ah stole a sideways glance as she sipped her tea. Kim Soo-ho sensed something from her eyes. Kim Soo-ho nodded. Rank 2. How specifically? Remember how many dungeons appeared recently? He said he would give us the right to monopolize the top 10 dungeons. It was indeed a tempting offer. Kim Soo-ho rubbed his chin, pretending to be in thought, then pushed his hair up and stood. That doesn't sound bad. No, it sounds tempting, but I have something I need to do right now, so I'll listen to the details later. Yeah, okay, if that's what you think, I'll think about it in a positive light. You seem busy. You can go now. Yes, understood. Kim Soo-ho left the guild leader's office. He took deep breaths as he leaned against the door. At that moment, a loud voice rang out. Glancing to the side, he saw Lee Young-han guiding a group of cube cadets while touring the guild. Look, it's the future vice leader. Say hello, kids. He's the hero who saved the world, Kim Soo-ho. Hey guys. Kim Soo-ho smiled bitterly. Wow, Kim Soo-ho-nim. Sword Saint Kim Soo-ho. I'm your biggest fan. Whoa! Teenagers who seemed to be in first or second year of Cube hollered and ran up to him. Kim Soo-ho smiled wryly and took hundreds of pictures with them. Tick-tock. In a silent apartment room where only the sound of the clock hands could be heard, I was in the middle of drinking a 500,000 won red ginseng extract. So bitter. It tasted bitter. Its medicinal effect wasn't anything special either. If a 500,000 won red ginseng extract was only this much, the cheaper ones they sold in stores had to be more or less non-effective. I wrote down the effects of the extract in a notebook in front of me. Low-rank red ginseng. Faint vitality recovering effect. No effect on raising physical ability. Because my ability to see the system in my stats disappeared, I developed a habit of writing things I felt. I currently had 14 medicines written in the notebook. Most of them were things like this red ginseng extract. As I thought, this isn't enough. I threw the extract away and sprawled down on the couch. A week had passed since I regained the medicinal memory physique. I've been living in a great sense of helplessness. I would become motivated, then unmotivated several times every day. Emptiness filled the space where motivation left, and even when motivation returned, it would quickly disappear. Although I could memorize the effects of medicine, I had no method of making contact with any useful ones. The resume I submitted to Essential Pharmacy sales department had been rejected. Geez, I'm going to commit suicide at this rate. I even had a horrible case of insomnia. Every time I tried to fall asleep, I would dream about the past and hate waking up. Because of it, I was afraid to fall asleep. I clicked my tongue and turned on the TV. The portals connecting different countries have just been restored. Portals to America and Europe are fully functional and news regarding portals came out. Should I really leave this place? Recently, I've been thinking about leaving this apartment. Just like how I left this place in the past to enter Cube, I felt like I had to leave to do what I needed to do. After all, this place was only the starting point. In truth, I had this idea the day after I obtained the medicinal memory physique. After all, this physique was predicated on the idea of consuming rare herbs and memorizing their effects, rather than consuming fully made products sold on the market. But the reason I waited was on the slight off chance that someone might come here, that someone might regain their memories and come looking for me. Of course, I knew it was an empty wish, and now that almost 10 days had gone by, I had no choice but to admit that I had disappeared from this world completely. I raised my upper body and turned on my smartwatch. Just like I saw on the news, the portal to Europe had been restored. I looked at my bank account. I had enough funds to travel around the mountains of different countries. I had the Desert Eagle, Black Lotus uniform, and Aether in case I needed to fend off danger. Right. I nodded resolutely as I looked at my smartwatch. There was no way for me to enter Essential Pharmacy. In that case, it would probably be better for me to consume different herbs from traveling and make my own medicine. Applying for a job once I had some experience would probably be more helpful. Let's go. Right now, I murmured and got up. Although it was a sudden decision, there was no hesitation. The time to leave the starting point had come. See you, Chundong. What am I saying? I should pack my bags.
I almost forgot. Since I didn't have the stigma anymore, I had to pack my bags before going anywhere. Sk, sk. I picked up a luggage bag and began to pack clothes, food, my identification card, a smartwatch, the Desert Eagle, and anything else useful I could find.
Chapter 369. Rustle, rustle. I walked along a messy grass path. Weeds grew abundantly, tickling my knees, and rocks littered everywhere clung to my feet like magnets. Each time the wind blew, countless leaves fell to the ground, and the sun shone its blazing light down on them. This steep mountain, never chosen for a stroll or hike, was called Yaxi Mountain. Located in North Hamgyong Province, it revealed the roughness of nature in its entirety. Due to the great change in the past, it had reached a height of 2,650 meters. Its high magic power density made it famous for many herbs that grew there. I had considered the Alps for my first destination, but since I didn't even have a passport, I decided to come here instead. I planned to stay until my passport was issued, assuming the mountain's owner didn't discover me. Yaxi Mountain was private property. To be precise, it belonged to Che Juchol. Naturally, I had infiltrated this place in secret. Perhaps a part of me even hoped to be discovered. However, today marked the 7th day I'd been living on this mountain. No one had found me yet. There weren't even patrols, which private properties often had. Wondering why, I looked up the reason on my smartwatch. The biggest reason was the war against the devils, but apparently Che Juchol had mostly abandoned this mountain. Once I found out, I happily roamed the mountain, searching for all sorts of herbs. To harvest a lion leaf growing on the edge of a cliff, I climbed a steep precipice. To search for a creon, I crossed a habitat full of wild beasts. And to protect a memory apricot I managed to obtain with great difficulty, I fought with monsters. Oh? While I was roaming the mountain in search of an herb as usual, a shining plant caught my eye. I quickly darted toward the light. There I found a beautiful flower, its blue light glowing, a bud surrounded by white petals. I didn't know whether this flower was an herb or not. I didn't even know its name, but my smartwatch did. I took a photo of the flower and searched it for it in the Herb Encyclopedia. Cloud Seeker. An ordinary flower, while its appearance might cause one to mistake it for an herb, no detailed effect has been recorded. It induces a stomachache upon consumption. Although that was what the smartwatch said, I had to try it for myself to be sure. I changed Aether into the shape of a trowel and dug up the Cloud Seeker from the root, then chomped down on it without hesitation. Ah, my stomach. Immediately I felt a slight pain in my stomach. But when I closed my eyes and focused, I sensed a hidden effect within the herb. I opened my notebook filled with records of herbs I'd found on the mountain. Macarong, Memorization progress 100%. This herb alone has no effect, but when mixed with others, it can cure various illnesses. Creon. Memorization progress 60%. An addictive herb. Sharpens the five senses. Helpful for battle. Sorrowful sunlight. Memorization progress 100%. Can easily cure external injuries. Lion leaf. Memorization progress 50%. Increases testosterone levels for 2 hours. I felt like a lion just as the name suggested. Magic power forget-me-not. Memorization progress 100%. Excellent for stopping bleeding and treating piercing wounds. Memory apricot. Memorization progress 95%. Effective at recovering memories and brain cells. Likely useful for treating dementia. I added Cloud Seeker to the list. Cloud Seeker. Memorization progress 30%. Has an effect related to purification. I would need to eat about 3 more to be sure. It was then. Rustle, rustle. I sensed a presence. I drew my Desert Eagle and aimed in that direction. Soon 2 men and a woman appeared from the bushes below the slope. They looked like teens in their late teens or early 20s. The moment they saw my gun, they screamed and raised their hands. "Who are you guys?" Don't shoot. We're from a village nearby. We're here to harvest herbs." "Herbs?" I furrowed my brows and examined them. The only things that could be used as weapons were the shovel and scythe hanging from their belts. Their clothes were ragged and shabby. Although we were only at the foot of Yaxi Mountain, they were nowhere near ready for climbing this mountain. "With those weapons? We don't have any weapon like the one you have." The 3 trembled in front of the gun. I continued to question them, not letting my guard down. "What do you need herbs for?" Our mother is sick. We're brother and sister. Our mother got poisoned by demonic energy. The doctor said there's no way to treat her and heroes won't pay attention to small villages like ours. So we wanted to... The eldest of the group got tongue-tied and stopped talking. I couldn't blame them. The gun did look intimidating. I clicked my tongue and lowered my gun. Immediately, the 3 collapsed onto their butts. I hadn't even fired. Did they have to be so scared? "Your mother got demonic energy poisoning?" "Yes. Yes." This time the girl spoke. I fell into thought. Of the medicinal herbs I'd memorized so far, the Cloud Seeker had a purification effect. I think there was a flower that could purify demonic energy poisoning. "Ah, really?" The 3's eyes widened. Feeling a bit guilty, I continued. But I ate it." A hard-to-describe disappointment appeared on their faces. I laughed, then fixed my posture and looked at them directly. "But I have a medicine that might help. Do you want to try it?" "Medicine? You're a doctor?" "Well, I guess you could call me a pharmacist." The 3 fell silent. They exchanged glances, unsure what to do. It should have been an easy decision. As I watched them, I began to assemble the medicine's effect in my body, separating and extracting the medicinal effect memorized by my body, creating a medicine by taking only the components that helped with demonic energy purification. Next was releasing it outward. I concentrated the medicinal effect on my palm and manifested it outside my skin. A stem sprouted from my palm, quickly growing and forming a fruit-like pill. However, this process used up quite a bit of my stamina. Just making 2 of these pills made me sleepy, and making 4 would make me faint. Anyway, my body was now a natural pharmacy. I'd developed this method of using my physique. Since this was my only special ability, I'd thought a lot about it and come up with different ways to use it. "Take it." I tossed the flat, circular pill to the 3. They jumped in surprise, but caught it before it hit the ground. "It's only a prototype, so it's not perfect, but it's better than going up this mountain and getting eaten by wild beasts. At least your mother won't be left to die alone."
Yes, thank you, we understand. Good. By the way, do you guys use social media? I asked, suddenly curious. The three stood in a daze, then quickly nodded. Yes, we have our smartwatches, so, we do social media. What's your ID? Excuse us?
What's your ID? Ah, yes. I took the Starstagram ID of the oldest brother, who only seemed to know how to say yes. Good. I'll remember this ID. Post something once your mother is cured. I need to know whether the prototype worked. I suddenly remembered the past. Back then, I did something similar to earn SP. After all, social media was an excellent source for obtaining SP. Oh, a post? Yep, write this. I continued with a grin. That a handsome, mysterious pharmacist helped you. The preparation for the revolution was well underway. Chain Aion first focused on her hero work and received evidence from Jin Seon about the association executive's corruption, assassinations, and other illegal activities. Chain Aion stored them away safely. Her job was to amass all the evidence and bring it to Che Juchul. However, Chain Aion was eventually found out, not by a stranger, but by her close friend and guild superior, Yu Yunha. Not even Chain Aion knew how she was discovered. Only Yu Yunha knew. That's why I'm here with Yu Yunha. In the Chameleon Troop's cabin, Chain Aion finished explaining why she brought Yu Yunha there. Of course, the explanation really was, I don't know, she just knew. Jane and Sin Seon stared at Yu Yunha with dumbfounded expressions. Yu Yunha spoke while sipping coffee. You don't have to rob Essential Pharmacy. After all, I am in a similar situation as you all. But there's just one problem. Copying the side effect cure is too difficult. Unfortunately, many of our researchers were lost during the previous war. The recent Great War had caused 1.5 million casualties in Korea. A huge wave of sorrow had swept the peninsula. So you can't make the side effect cure? Jin Seon asked. We're not sure. We're looking for talented individuals, but that will take a while. Making Che Juchul regret his misdeeds might take a while, so I suggest toppling Kim Suk-ho first. He already knows about our plans to attack. Yu Yunha used the word, our plans. This meant she saw herself as part of the Chameleon Troop. This made Jane tilt her head. Our plans? Yes, Kim Suk-ho is also trying to bring me down with you. Something about Essence of the Strait getting too over its head. It's a good thing we secretly recorded him. Anyway, he will attack us soon. Yu Yunha smirked, as if she found Kim Suk-ho's attempt laughable. Chuk Chung-young asked, attack, you say. When? I can't be sure, but it will be soon. Kim Suk-ho will put out irresistible rewards that will attract guilds and even the new evils. At that moment, sploosh, something swayed like water. Startled, Yu Yunha turned around. The man who introduced himself as Chuk Chung-young was making a frighteningly sinister smile, his muscles twitching crazily. Yu Yunha couldn't imagine a more perverted scene. She fell into a momentary daze, but soon realized his excitement was caused by a competitive spirit. But remember this, you cannot kill the heroes. The new evils, fine, but you cannot do anything that might make you look like the villain. Only then can we bring Kim Suk-ho down. Huh, really? Why does everyone tell me not to kill? Don't you guys know that the real fun of a fight is? Jin Seon blocked Chuk Chung-young's mouth. Chuk Chung-young barely held himself back from biting Jin Seon's hand, while Jin Seon bowed her head politely. We think the same way. There's no reason to kill heroes who are oblivious to the truth. Chuk Chung-young looked unsatisfied, but when Jin Seon added, you can fight the new evils as much as you want, he finally nodded in satisfaction. Korea's capital Seoul, the home of the world's most famous guilds and the center of hero business and state-of-the-art magic engineering. This place, the ultimate destination for the richest and most powerful on Earth, was currently focused on reconstruction. We are finished with repairs here. How are things developing? The restoration process is going smoothly, but the architecture is lacking. We need time to rebuild the structural magic functionality.
Devils and demons had practically destroyed Seoul's numerous skyscrapers, but the restoration process was satisfactory and quick. It was thanks to magicians and agents joining hands, using gifts related to construction and restoration. Where is that guy? Meanwhile, Jin Sa-yuk floated in Seoul's sky, looking down on the city. She wasn't watching the restoration process, but scouring the streets for someone. The one she was searching for was, of course, that man. She hadn't seen him in recent days. As if he'd vanished into thin air, she couldn't find a single trace of him, even when she followed the people he was close to. Worse, they acted like they didn't know him, almost as if he didn't exist in the first place. Jin Sa-yuk tried to search for him using private investigators and the Violet Banquet, but all records related to him had been purged mysteriously. Nothing. Not a single trace remained, as if someone had wiped the record clean. Although Jin Sa-yuk caused a scene demanding they find him, the professionals in this field only refused her request. In truth, the problem was with Jin Sa-yuk. Thinking about it now, she realized she didn't know a thing about him other than his name. She had never tried to find out. She didn't know what kind of life he led, where he lived, or what background he had. That was why she couldn't do anything. Because she was bad with words, she couldn't even draw a portrait for investigators. There was someone who could look into her head using psychometry or something, but she refused to let anyone like that into her mind. Son of a bitch, you hid because you really thought I was going to kidnap you and bring you back. What a coward. Who are you searching for so much? At that moment, a red-haired magician floating next to her asked her. It was Shimoran. Rather than returning to her homeworld, this master of dimensional magic had stayed in this world. According to Shimoran, she was traveling simply out of curiosity. Jin Sa-yuk had hired her thinking, perfect. After all, Shimoran's dimensional magic travel would be of great help to Akatrina. Jin Sa-yuk glanced at Shimoran and twisted up the corner of her mouth. There's this guy. Do you have to meet him? I don't have to, but I want to before I leave. You see, he taught me a valuable lesson I can never forget. As such, I wanted to say something before she left. A conversation without ulterior motives wouldn't be the right way to put it. To be honest, I wanted to hear everything there was about Kinspring. If Kinspring was within Kim Hajin's inner mind, just like Puharan is inside Marok's, I wanted to take Kinspring with me and live the rest of my life with him.
A man who taught a valuable lesson to a tyrant. I'm curious too. Then are you saying you'll wait until you find him? No, I won't delay the plan just because of him. The time for her to return to her homeworld was approaching. Puharen was still scratching at her heart, and the dimensional stone Baal gave her was nearing its expiration date. Once the time came, Jin Sa-yuk would return to Akatrina with the food and weapons she had amassed. There would be no hesitation. She would not look back. But Shimoran, weren't you related to him too? Don't you have to talk to him too? At that moment, Jin Sa-yuk suddenly remembered something. She had heard about Shimoran's relationship with that guy. To be precise, she heard that Kim Hajin played a pivotal role in completing the dimensional magic. However, this Shimoran woman seemed to want to claim the achievement for herself, as she didn't mention a thing about him. Who are you talking about? Like that, she only fiddled with her hair and pretended not to know him. About Kim Hajin. Jin Sa-yuk muttered his name as if dumbfounded. But Shimoran still looked confused. Kim Hajin? Did I meet someone by that name? What are you talking about? Kim Hajin is the one who completed your dimensional magic. Suddenly, Jin Sa-yuk stopped talking. A bolt of lightning seemed to strike her head. Jin Sa-yuk stared at Shimoran, then looked down from Seoul from the sky. In the next moment, she became convinced. What had been a faint, fog-like thought became a hard brick that filled her head. Kim Hajin had not hidden from her. Thus, Kim Hajin's friends weren't pretending not to know him either. This entire world had forgotten about the existence known as Kim Hajin. When she realized this, Jin Sa-yuk naturally understood why she wasn't affected. It was a simple reason. It was because of Kim Hajin's secret that only she knew. Another existence who was the same but different from Kim Hajin. She was the only person who knew both Kind Spring and Kim Hajin. Chapter 370. 3 months had passed since the end of the Great Devil War. This war had forever changed faiths, cultures, values, and ways of living for people all over the world. Its impact was as significant as the Great Change, and now the world was moving forward with cooperation and reconciliation that transcended borders. This unity was driven by the continued threat of common enemies, the new evils and the devils Laraj and Vasigo. Meanwhile, in Korea's North Gyeongsang province, a peaceful atmosphere prevailed. Many apartment buildings stood together in a complex, part of Healing City, created under the sponsorship of the Colored Paper Charity Foundation led by Yi Byal. Within these hundreds of apartment buildings, tens of thousands of war victims found refuge. Surrounding them were hospitals, schools, convenience stores, playgrounds, and more. This 10-square-kilometer plot of land, once a monster-infested forest, had transformed into a welfare city inhabited by 100,000 children and 30,000 adults who cared for them. Yi Byal's immense wealth was funding an entire city. Aha! Then, would it be possible to see the foundation head? Naturally, where there was money, opportunists gathered. Countless businessmen came hoping to meet the person who single-handedly controlled trillions of Korean won. They called her a potential investor simply because she was rich. No. Rumors swirled about the foundation head's appearance. We didn't come here to ask for investments. In fact, we wanted to donate too. Then give it now. Droon treated a young Chae Bal-sun coldly. The man in the luxury business suit was Sim Ha-won, successor of Bingjong Corporation. Normally, he would have received special treatment, but here he was just another visitor. Given his status, Droon wasn't the only one to greet him. Yi Luri was standing beside him, his fiancée. Well, I was expecting as much. Director Kim. Director Kim handed Sim Ha-won a check, which he then showed to Droon. The check was an astronomical amount with 9 zeros, but Droon didn't even blink. The foundation head had enough wealth to buy his business out and still have plenty of left over. How is it? I heard the Colored Paper Foundation has been thriving, so we prepared this. I was thinking... Thank you. At that moment, Yi Luri, who had been silent, stepped forward. She smiled brightly and snatched the check from Sim Ha-won's hand. What? Sim Ha-won blinked, staring at Yi Luri. Droon looked at her approvingly. Yi Luri slipped the check into her pocket. We'll put it to good use. We were thinking about getting more medicine, you see. For the record, Droon and Yi Luri were heads of security, teachers, and doctors all at once. Now adults, they supported others and relied on each other. Well, Sim Ha-won coughed dryly, fighting the urge to say, arrogant little brat. Then, can I see her, the foundation head, I mean? Droon laughed at the question. We'll think about it. His voice was playful, with a hint of mischief. After all, the check had 9 zeros. After slipping away from Sim Ha-won, Droon climbed a small hill behind the housing area. The sky was so blue it looked painted, and the green grass swayed in the gentle breeze. Amid this beautiful scene, he saw a woman with long flowing hair. She was kneeling in front of a tombstone, staring at it intently. Her dark hair fluttered in the wind like clouds. Her slim jawline, tall nose, eyes shining with a black light, and thick, beautiful eyelashes made her look like she had stepped out of a painting. Droon walked up and sat beside her. Why are you staring at this tombstone every day? She tilted her head slightly, thinking for a moment before shaking her head. It's not every day.
It's practically every day. A gentle breeze blew. She straightened her hair as it fluttered in the wind. Who knows? This person is already dead. He was an evil person, too. Droon couldn't understand why she was so attached to this tombstone, which bore the name of Yi Yanjun. No matter how much he thought about it, he couldn't understand. Maybe he would when he was older. The woman smiled faintly and shook her head. It's not this person. I'm looking for someone else. And who's that? I don't know. Droon frowned, glaring at her, but she spoke gently, with conviction. But I'll find out soon. Finding someone is my specialty, after all. What? Yes, I'm going to remember soon. I believe I will, without a doubt. Speechless, Droon stared at her, Yi Byul. She had changed so much, as if she had left her past behind. No matter how rude he was, she didn't react. She only smiled gently. Even when he flicked her forehead, her face stiffened for a moment, but she still smiled and said it was okay. Of course, that was just a punishment from a game they played. Droon didn't hate this new boss. It would be a lie to say he didn't miss the past, but he knew they couldn't go back. Then, let me try it too. Droon smiled playfully and glared at the tombstone. Boss smiled faintly. She changed. It was then. Ah-ha-ha! Here you were. I finally found you. A clear voice called from behind. Droon pretended to be surprised and looked back. Sim Ha-wan, the chaebol in Bingjung Corporation, was walking up the hill. Yi Byul spoke. Droon, did you bring him here? Eh? No. I would never. He must have come here on his own. But how? Does he have good intuition? Droon stood up and walked towards the man, planning to chase him away. But Sim Ha-wan had already seen Yi Byul, and his whole body stiffened. He stared at Yi Byul in a daze, then murmured softly, So the rumors weren't false. My God, how can there be such a beautiful... Yi Byul didn't let him finish. Her shadow stretched out like a tentacle, wrapped around his waist, and dragged him away. Wah! Oh, looks like my Nuna hasn't lost her touch. This place is off limits to non-administrators. He must not have read the sign. I sent him there so he could read it. Ignoring the screaming man, Yi Byul turned back to the tombstone. Someone more important than Yi Yanjun. To search for him, to remember his name, she began to think once again.
In Seoul's Dongja-gu Huksak-dong stood a mansion Yoon Yanha had built herself. It was big and fancy from the outside, but for someone of Yoon Yanha's wealth, it was rather plain. In the main room, Yoon Yanha listened to a tape Hassan Isaba had recorded the night before. Essence of the Strait has gotten too big. We should have suppressed them when we could. But that doesn't matter now. They will fall from grace soon enough. Kim Suk-ho's voice rang out. How can you be sure? This was Yi Yuko's voice. How? In various ways. Their heroes suddenly killing civilians, Jins being amidst their affiliated heroes, corruption in the essential pharmacies, new medicine, and so on. There are Jins among their heroes?
Friend, when did you get so naive? If there aren't, we'll just have to make them. The new hunting dogs I found made contact with the new evils. Using them, we should be able to deal with them easily, just like last time. At that moment, a new voice cut in. Essence of the Strait won't be so easy, especially that young woman, Yu Yen-ha. It wasn't E.U. Ko. This voice belonged to the power behind the scenes, Yu Jang-won. Kim Suk-ho spoke again. What are you worried about? Yu Yen-ha is too young. Plus, Yu Jin-wong has deep relations with us.
Che-ju-chal doesn't seem to be looking at them favorably either, so Yu Yan-ha will lose everything before she realizes what happened. It's time to snap the neck of a baby hen not knowing her place and crowing. The recording ended. Yu Yan-ha truly was grateful for her connection with Hassan Isaba. Who else could record a secret conversation on the highest floor of the Tower of Heroes? Baby hen, he says. Kim Suk-ko certainly knew how to infuriate someone. Yu Yan-ha clenched her teeth. She understood his confidence. He had ruled Korea for decades and probably didn't see anyone as a threat. But this arrogance would be their downfall. Twisting the neck of a rooster won't stop the sun from rising. No, they wouldn't even manage that. Sechan-shi? Yu Yan-ha called Jin Se-chan. Yes? How is the preparation for the party going? She asked with a smile. Jin Se-chan replied with a faint chuckle. It is going smoothly. Great. This was all part of the scenario Yu Yan-ha had scripted. She turned her head and spoke to the women watching her from the couch. Next Saturday, I'll host a party at the Yu family's mansion. It'll be called the Post-War Societal Leaders Ball, or something like that. I want a name that does the job but isn't too snobby. Yu Yan-ha wanted to resolve everything at once. The coup d'etat had to round up all the corrupt executives to become a true revolution. Not just the chairman, but everyone involved in corruption had to be arrested. This party would be the stage for their punishment. Yu Yan-ha pictured the revolution in her mind. While the guests enjoyed the party, Yu Jin-wang's whistleblowing would reveal the association's corruption to the world. Even if the executives tried to escape, they would be caught immediately. The reason was obvious. The chameleon troupe would play a pivotal role. As the former hunting dog of Che-ju-chal and the association, they would expose the evil deeds of Kim Suk-ko and the corrupt executives. Pushed to the corner, Kim Suk-ko might call the new evils or his new hunting dogs. Regardless, the heroes of the generation, Aileen, Kim Soo-ho, Yoon Sung-ah, and others, would suppress them. It was a perfect plan. It seemed flawless as long as she didn't let her guard down. But there was one thing she worried about: Yu Jin-wang. That was her father. She had already spoken to him. He had committed grave sins. The Kwang-o incident wasn't the only time he acted as the hunting dog of Che-ju-chal. It might be impossible to pardon him with her power. But her father had told her he would gladly accept his punishment. He had already resigned as guild leader and even given up his master rank hero position, saying he felt his limit during the Great Devil War. So she couldn't fail. She had to succeed and make amends. Yu Yan-ha spoke with determination. Distribute the invitation letters, only to the 300 people on the list. Since they can each bring 2 guests, about 900 people will attend. Understood. Place our heroes around the mansion. Confirm everyone's invitation before letting them in, and once they're inside, don't let them leave. Yes, of course. Don't forget to make sure electronic manipulation is working. Jamming isn't enough. We need to make sure the internet they see is different from the real one. For that, set up a broadcasting station and a base station. Don't worry about the cost. Use as much as you need. Understood. I will do as you say. With that, Yu Yan-ha ended the call. She turned her head to the 2 women on the couch. A grand party will be held. A cheerful reply came. Hee, great! I'm a big fan of parties! It was Janin. Jin Se-yen sat next to her. Unlike Janin, who smiled brightly, Jin Se-yen seemed deep in thought. Janin asked, Is Yoon Sung-ah coming too? Probably. I'm not really good with her. Won't you be disguised anyway? I don't know how, but she can see through my disguise. I'm tired. This is interesting. It's perfect as the chameleon troupe's last mission. A bittersweet smile appeared on her face. The plan progressed smoothly. The VVVIP party Yu Yenha hosted quickly became the talk of society's elites. Even top elites like Che Nayeon were personally invited, while ordinary elites had to beg for invitations. Only 300 people were invited, each able to bring 2 guests. Jong-hak said he won't be coming. Che Nayeon received Yu Yenha's message at her hanok. Knowing Jong-hak's personality, she knew he was likely waiting for the crucial moment to appear and steal the spotlight. Whew. Now was the time to focus on herself. Che Nayeon turned off her smartwatch and took a deep breath. In front of her was a sliding wooden door. Beyond it was her grandfather who had committed many sins. Che Nayeon had something to say to him. She had written and practiced her words dozens of times. But now she didn't remember any of them. No, she didn't need to. She decided to speak from the heart as his granddaughter. Although her grandfather claimed to only have 1% of emotions, that might make convincing him easier. If he had 1% of emotions for most things, wouldn't his feelings for family be at least 2%? If so, she had an advantage. Che Nayeon planned to bet on this possibility. Knock, knock. She knocked on the door. After about 3 seconds, she heard the sound of a brush being set down. Was her grandfather practicing calligraphy? It must be Nayeon. Yes. What are you doing here? His voice was warm, but carried something else. Che Nayeon clenched her fists, took a breath, and spoke. There's something I need to say, grandfather. Ho ho! Is that so? Cheju Chol spoke like a normal grandfather, proud that his granddaughter had come to see him. Then, come in.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.